Oh shit. Hey folks, welcome back to This Week in History. As you can see, we unfortunately revealed the location of our studio, and yeah, now we have a new one in a remote, secured location. Try and find us now. Anyway, let's get into what we're here to do. In 455, Roman Emperor Petronius Maximus, how is that not a shot, was stoned to death by an angry mob after ruling for less than 3 months. Yeah, he wasn't very popular. Also, that's not the right picture and wrong kind of stoned. In 1669, Samuel Peeps, which is spelled like this by the way, wrote his final journal entry, fearing that he was straining his eyes by keeping said journal. Why is his journal the most important in history that didn't involve vampires or Nazis? Because Peeps witnessed and recorded quite a few historical events: the Great London Fire, the Great Plague, the Second Anglo-Dutch War. He basically was like a 17th century Forrest Gump, just, you know, less life is like a box of chocolates-y and more bladder stone-ridden and adultery-y. Also, I find it a tad coincidental that a man known for witnessing things whose last name is Peeps, and during whose lifetime, according to some, saw the shift in the meaning of the word peep to mean to watch, i.e. peep show, but we can't find any proof that the change had anything to do with his name. It just seems too perfect, like how Thomas Crapper made so many improvements to the toilet, including the floating ball cock, because I'll never turn away a chance to say ball cock. But he and the word crap have no relation. Strange things, man, strange things. On June 1st in 1495, the existence of Scotch whiskey was first recorded by a monk named John Core. It of course had existed before then, just nobody had written it down. In 1670, the Treaty of Dover was signed between France and England, leading to the Third Anglo-Dutch War. It was a strong end to the trilogy, and what? There was another one several years later that was overshadowed by the American Revolution? Well, there goes that. On June 2nd in 455, the Vandals sacked the city of Rome, plundering everything they could for the next 2 weeks. As for why they did it, that would be the stoned guy from earlier. On June 3rd in 1839, 1.3 million kilograms, or a little over 13,000 tons, of opium that had been confiscated from British ships was destroyed by Chinese officials. This led to the First Opium War, which was exactly what the British were hoping for. See, the Brits were finding a difficult time trading with China because China had all kinds of stuff that the British wanted, but the limey British bastards didn't have much that China wanted in return. Solution? Smuggle in as much illegal opium and get as many Chinese addicted as possible, then defeat them in a war and have them give you Hong Kong. It didn't fix the trade issues, which was why they had to do it all over again about 15 years later. In 1943, the Zoot Suit Riots. Yeah, they were a lot darker than the squirrel nut zippers would have you believe. Plus, that's our word. Only we can say that. Began in Los Angeles. White sailors and Marines went around the city, beating and stripping anyone, particularly Hispanics, that they found wearing zoot suits. This happened for 2 reasons. One, this was during World War II and the country was under cloth rationing, and seeing as the creation of zoot suits, which required quite a bit more fabric than was allowed, was considered illegal, but it was still being done on the black market, the military members and much of the public saw this as unpatriotic and snubbing their nose to the sacrifices that other Americans were making. Reason number 2, good old-fashioned, unadulterated racism. I'm just calling it as it was. On June 4th in 1783, the Montgolfier brothers unveiled their invention, the Montgolfier. Wonder where they got that name. To the public, we call it the hot air balloon. By the way, they also invented the hydraulic ram and vellum. Yeah, they invented that paper you can see through. Sticking with hot air balloons, great segue, in 1784, Elizabeth Thibble became the first woman to fly in an untethered hot air balloon. Big day for balloons. And now for this week's installment of Wow, so that's a thing that exists. Wow, so that's a thing that exists. On June 5th in 1851, Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin began to be published in the National Era newspaper. It was released in serial form over the next 10 months. In 1893, the trial of Lizzie Borden for the brutal axe murders of her father and stepmother began. She would eventually be acquitted, but come on now, we all know she did it. The trial was the O.J. Simpson case of its time, and she was pretty much treated the same way Juice is now. On June 6th in 1882, a cyclone hit Bombay, one of the largest to ever form in the Arabian Sea, killing at least 100,000 people, nearly an eighth of the city's population. Except, yeah, that never happened. It's a historical hoax that many places still push as fact, including up to a few years ago several encyclopedias. And if nothing else, take this as a lesson not to believe everything you read. In 1889, the Great Seattle Fire destroyed 25 city blocks after being started by someone accidentally overturning a glue pot. The fact that one of the nearby buildings to catch fire was a liquor store did not help things. In 1944, Operation Neptune, the largest amphibious landing in history, took place on the beaches of Normandy. We call it D-Day. 155,000 Allied troops were deployed, successfully taking the beach and beginning their march through France towards Berlin. Well, eventually towards Berlin. And finally, in birthdays this week, we've got writer, libertine, and namesake of sadism, Marquis de Sade in 1740, the king that couldn't hold on to 13 measly colonies, George III in 1738, and humanist poet Walt Whitman in 1819. And looks like that's gonna about do it for this week. We appreciate you being here and hope to see you here again next week. Same squirrel time, same squirrel channel. Be careful out there, be good to each other, and remember, don't pull a Humpty Dumpty. Stay on the ball, stay on the wall.